Good day to you people of the internet. Okay, so today we're going to talk about cable stitching and cable lacing, which is my preferred method to give an aesthetically pleasing and professional finish to the exposed cables in your rig. Now, cable management's come a long way. Back in the 90s, when I first started building custom rigs, we did it for increased airflow. It wasn't uncommon to use wire ties, zip ties, gaffer's tape, sticky pads, tucking things behind drive cables, just whatever you can do so there wasn't a lot of obstruction for the air movement in that case. Well, now you've got a big window on the side of your rig. And if you just bought a new motherboard, processor, video card, whatever, and you want to show it off to your friends, and the cables are just kind of laying in there, it's not going to have the same wow factor as someone who took a little bit extra time to put some cable management in. There's different ways to do that. Cases now have a lot of ample area in the back so you can hide cables. You can buy things called cable combs, which are little pieces of plastic that you can clip your cables into to help give them a trained memory and finished look. The way I like to do it is by stitching them. Now we'll get into the details later, but let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. As I hope you guys can see here, I've got my main ATX power coming in from behind the case, and I've got this nice gradual arc coming and plugging into the motherboard. And this black strip you see right here is wax-covered cotton cord that I use to stitch each and every row of these cables. What's really nice is that wax-covered cotton cord is so cheap if you pick it up on eBay or Amazon or some web retailer like that. Not only that, but it doesn't get brittle and dry out like plastic combs will in the future. And you can use this type of cord with a whole variety of cables. You can use it for stitching, you can use it for lacing. Whereas if you buy plastic combs, you've got to get those combs sized to the exact cable you plan on using them. So there's a lot more versatility. I think it gives it a cleaner look. And this is the end result. So what you'll see right here is another stitched cable coming in for PCI Express power. Now the card that I had in here before the upgrades was an AMD 390, and that 390's PCIe power connectors were kind of inverted as to where they are now. So I'll need to take this cable out and restitch it to the orientation of these brackets. Now something to keep in mind is you'll end up with a top side and a bottom side of the cable. So you can see right here, this is the top side. There's no exposed knots or excess cable, and it looks very clean. But over here, you can see these clumps. These are the knots or leftover exposed cable on the bottom side, which is why I'm going to pull this out and restitch it. So I'm going to work on getting this cable out of here and onto the bench. I'll refocus the camera and show you guys the next step. The next step is going to be cut yourself off a generous piece of cord or thread and tie it on to your two paper clips to use as sewing needles. So a paper clip is going to have this nice rounded edge, and then on the back end it'll have two sharp metal ends. Those metal ends are going to be the back part of your paper clip. You never want to be shoving anything sharp through your cable bundles. So it'll look something kind of like this. Okay, next thing to figure out is how far apart you want your stitching to be. I've decided to go with 3 inches, and I put a piece of tape on my workbench here so it'll be easier to measure those stitchings. Okay? Now again, keep in mind there's going to be a top half, or a top side and a bottom side, and you're going to be wanting to work bottom side up when you're doing your stitching. So you grab your bundle, and you work one of your paper clips through the center of the wires, and you come out halfway through. And you leave yourself an inch or two of cord. This is going to be the end piece that you tie off to. You'll take the rest and you'll wrap it around the entire bundle. Okay? And once you're wrapped and tight, kind of make sure your measurements are lining up. Now at first it can be a little frustrating to get all the cables to line up the way you like it, but the farther you get into this, the easier it'll be. So now take your paper clip and push it back through the bundle and go all the way through till you come out the other side. And at this point in time, it's kind of like no turning back. You want to make sure that everything's lined up and that your spacing is where you're going to want it. Okay? Now you take your long end and you loop over this cord right here, and you go back almost all the way through, except you come out one cable in, like this. Okay? Alright, so now we've got this cord looping over here, and we're coming up through our cable bundle. So we'll take our paper clip, and we're going to push it all the way through these first two wires and out the other side. And then we'll come back up through those two wires and out to the bottom. So you'll end up with something like this. Okay? Now this is the back side. We don't have to worry about it too much, but we're going to start off going over this loop one more time, and instead of going all the way through the package, we're going to move one cable over. So we'll be going through with this paper clip, and instead of going all the way through like this, we'll come all the way through over one cable like so. Okay, we'll grab our bundle, we'll come out one cable over. So you can see the result on the top side here is we've got our first loop, and we're ready to stitch in our second loop. So we'll take our paper clip and we'll go all the way through the bundle. And we're pretty much going to do the same thing all the way until we get to the last cable. We'll go over, and instead of going straight through the bottom, we'll move one cable over. Okay, so here we are, back side of the cable, all the way at the end of the bundle. Now normally, we'd go down and move one cable over. But if we did that here, we'd be out into open space, and that wouldn't look very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back in and all the way through the center until you come out the other side. Okay? Now on this side, you can see that we've got a nice loop holding everything tightly together. And we're going to finish up by putting that loop on this side as well. Take our paper clip, cross over this bundle, come up through the middle, and here we are, where we left off. We can cut these two ends, tie them together. Now if you're using this wax covered cotton thread, you really don't need a whole lot of extra cable hanging off. It holds together pretty good. Stuff is amazingly robust. But there you go. That's double stitching on the bottom and on the top. About 3 inches apart. Looks very nice. So what I'm going to do now is work my way down the cable. Okay, this is the end result of stitching 2 separate 8-pin PCI Express power cables into one kind of like trunk power cable. We've got 4 rows of stitching 3 inches apart. This will be the section that's visible within the case. And then behind the scenes and wrapping back into the power supply with these 2 pigtailed sections that have kind of some organizational stitching on the bottom. So you'll see a little bit of this poking back into the case, and it'll look really nice plugged in like that. So we'll check this out in the case in a little bit. Let's move on to cable lacing. Cable lacing, at least as far as I understand, is taking a bunch of different cables and lacing them together in a nice and easy to use bundle. So we'll use the same wax covered cotton cord as before. We'll pick a starting point in our bundle and we'll tie our first knot. Now I'm sure any knot will do, but I've always been told to use a hitch knot. So I'll teach you how to tie that now. So you'll start with your bundle and your cord. You'll lay the cord underneath the bundle. You'll come over the bundle, underneath the cord, and you'll have something like this. Then you'll come under the bundle again, and then continue to bring this cord over the bundle and back through the loop. You'll have something like this. Now you should be able to tighten both ends. And that gives you a nice, strong, very small knot that's going to hold together well. Now that's the start of your lacing. The rest of it is just a bunch of consecutive knots all the way down, spaced out in even intervals to give a nice appearance. So we'll take our cord, we'll come underneath the bundle, over, and through the loop. And it's that simple. And we repeat that all the way down the cable. So do it again. We'll go underneath the bundle, over, and through the loop. And you can do that all the way down. Now what's neat about lacing is, let's say that your bundle breaks off into 2 separate paths. I can continue lacing down this leg of cabling and then grab some more cotton cord, tie a knot, and continue to lace down this leg as well. And you could really get intricate wire lacings done that look very attractive. Alright, let's take a look and see what that actually looks like put together in the case. Here we have our dual 8-pin PCI Express power cables fully installed back into the graphics card. We can see the stitching keeps everything lined up and spaced very nice. Not only that, but it helps maintain the memory of the curve I've got in the cable here. Just like the main power cable here, it maintains this really nice curve. Now in the future, if I ever opted for a second graphics card, the cables coming out of that would bundle in very nicely. Be a really good presentation. And then down here under the pump, I don't know if you can make it out, but I've deployed my lacing technique to bundle all of the cables going from the lighting and the pump and the sensors up into the rear of the case. Okay guys, I hope you found some of that information useful. If you did, consider hitting that like button, possibly subscribing. And if you do try out any of these lacing or stitching techniques, let me know how it works out for you down in the comments below. Alright guys, thanks for joining me. Until the next video.